Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Coach Matt, Primal Athlete Training Center, EliteThrowsCoaching.com. Here for week 11. Believe it or not, yeah, week 11 out of 13. This summer has been absolutely flying, especially the past few weeks. It seems like all of my college throwers are finishing up their last couple of sessions here in the gym. Some of our college throwers, their last session out in the weight room was today, or out in the throwing area was today, and we are getting ready to start school. I know my son starts kindergarten here in just a few weeks, and we're winding down the end of our summer off season. So what we are doing today is we are actually talking about week 11. Now, week 11 is just sort of a continuation of last week. Remember, we are building up. We are building up so that we can max out on week 13. So this week, your main strength movements are going to be max sets of 3. Last week, we worked up to a max set of 4 with both the squat and the bench. This week, we are working up to a max set of 3. Now, this is where you really need to do your homework and look back. You have done a very heavy set of 3 with your main max effort squat movement and your main max effort bench press movement. Because remember, this is the same movement that we did during weeks 1 through 3 and the same movement that we did for weeks 7 through 9. So it's the same exact max effort movement, but we're gonna do a new max set of 3. So your job is to go back and look at every time you've done this main movement, this main exercise. Go back, take a look at that, and find the heaviest set of 3 that you have ever done and break that record. That's what you want to base everything around, is what you've done before. So don't guess. Don't say, well, I think I worked up to this much on the squat. I think I worked up. No, no, no. That's why we wrote everything down. That's why we went and filled in all the blanks for the past 10 weeks. Now, week 11, week 12, week 13, we know what we've done. We understand exactly what we need to do and the records that we need to break. So this week, you need to break your max set of 3. With your speed days, again, it's going to be a continuation of what we did last week. And with your accessory movements, we're going to keep those exactly the same as week 10, but we're going to try to go heavier for fewer repetitions. Now, this is not, some of you have emailed, this is not a traditional peaking program like you would see if you were going to a weightlifting competition or a powerlifting meet. This is not the same type of peaking. We are just gradually increasing the weight so that, number 1, we can get more used to and more practice with the movement, and so that, number 2, we can continue to push our body and have our body accommodate to the higher weight so that we can hit a new max in a few weeks. Remember, we're not powerlifters. We're not Olympic weightlifters. We're not strongmen. We are not CrossFit athletes. We have a specific set of skills that we do when we are in a throwing circle or on a javelin runway. So what we are doing here in the weight room is meant to improve and increase what we do out in those throwing circles. What we do for our speed work is meant to improve and increase what we do out there in the throwing circle. What we do for our accessory movements are meant to improve and increase what we do for our main movements on our max effort and our speed days to increase and improve what we do out there in the circle. So everything leads to improving what we do in that throwing circle. We are always trying to improve. So what we're doing here is trying to improve our max strength by week 13. That way we have a real number, a solid number to base our preseason training off of when we start working again with percentages, and to base our in-season training off of, again, when we start working with lighter percentages. We don't want to just assume that we are doing a certain amount of weight. We don't want to put it into a formula and say, this is based on these numbers, this is my max. We want to find out the actual max. We want to find out what you can do. That's what we're doing on week 13. This week, we've got to set it up properly. So we're going a max set of 3 with our max effort squat and our max effort bench press days. The other thing that we need to talk about today is that some of you have taken a little bit of a vacation from the training, and now you're wondering how to set things up. Now what do I do? Well, it's not going to be perfect. Again, you took some weeks off. You took the summer off, or some of you who are coaches are telling me that, you know, your athletes have not been doing the lifting and that you're having trouble getting the athletes to do the lifting. What are we going to do? Well, we just kind of have to take into account and assume that they hopefully are getting stronger. Hopefully they're doing some type of lifting, whether it's with a football team or their soccer team or whatever other sport they're playing right around this time. Hopefully they're doing some type of training on their own and they are getting stronger. Hopefully they are working toward finding a new 1 rep max. They might not be doing it the way that you want, the way that we're doing here, but hopefully they are working up to it. So if you have taken a vacation, if you have not been able to get your athletes to throw, whatever it might be, it matters, but not as much as you might think. As long as they're getting stronger, they might not be as strong as they could be, but hopefully they're getting stronger. As long as they're getting faster, they probably aren't as fast as they could be, but hopefully they're getting faster. That's all that really matters, is that they're seeing some improvement. No matter what, whether they've been lifting or they haven't been lifting, whether they've been doing the workouts or they haven't been doing the workouts, you are going to have to find their max. Now, their max might be 30, 40 pounds less than what it was during the season. That's their fault for not doing the lifting. Shame on them. But you got to find their max before the season starts. You're going to find their max before their preseason starts, and that actual max is what you're going to base their numbers off of. Not an assumed max, not what they did back in May. You're going to base it off of what they can do right now. That's why we we finish off our seasons with a max, because it's always changing. After your in season, it's probably going to be lower. After your summer, it's probably going to be higher. After your preseason, it may go either way depending on what your focus is going to be. All right, so don't worry too much if you've taken a vacation. Don't worry too much if your athletes haven't been doing the lifting. You're just going to retest them, see where they're at, and then based on their test, based on where they're at, that is where you are going to actually take their percentages off of. 50% is still 50%. 75% is still 75%. Whether it's 75% of a new big increase or it's 75% of a lower number, it's still 75% of what they can do on that very day. All right, so don't worry too much about this. Just really try to push yourself, really try to get up to a new 3 rep max this week in your squat movement and in your bench press movement, and you'll be fine. You'll be all set to go, because we're going to, again, move up again next week, and then finally on week 13, we are going to max out and find your true 1 rep max, and hopefully have some really happy, smiling faces when it's all said and done. All right? Keep on sending in those questions. Keep on hitting up that private Facebook group that you get. If you have anything, guys, please make sure to email it to me or get in touch with me through that private Facebook group. Talk to you all soon.